Hello to anyone that's lucky enough to stumble across this review of Real Madrid versus AS Roma preseason game, the first for Real Madrid that took place in Melbourne, Australia this morning, 5 a.m. Eastern Time, so I was definitely up early for it. Now, Real Madrid did come into the game. In fact, both teams came into the game with relatively full-strength lineups, certainly wanting to give the fans a show. For Real Madrid, their starting lineup was Keylor Navas in goal, Carvajal at right back, Ramos and Varane were the two center backs, Marcelo on the left. The two center mids were Luka Modric and Ilar Mendy, and then the right winger was the 16-year-old Martin Odegaard. In the middle was Gareth Bale, and then on the left wing was Ronaldo, and up front was Hesse. So it looked to me that in his first game in charge, Rafa Benitez opted for his preferred 4-2-3-1, something that he's used throughout his career and for the majority of it. Something that actually probably originated with him when he was a coach at Valencia, when he actually managed to break up that Madrid-Barcelona duopoly in La Liga and win two La Liga championships and the UEFA Cup, as it was known at the time. Anyway, back to the game. So the first half was very, very interesting. Certainly told me a lot about what we can expect from Real Madrid in the future. It did finish 0-0 in the first half. AS Roma definitely came out stronger of the two sides, and certainly in the first 20 minutes, especially Gervinho, he essentially had his way with Carvajal in the first. I mean, Gervinho was creating everything for Roma. Roma hit the bar, and then Totti followed up, and Marcelo had to clear it off the line. Iago Falque, he was another one who was sparking a lot for Roma. He played quite well. From the Real Madrid point of view, Navas looked really shaky to start. Awkward punch. Didn't really come out to claim the ball. He wasn't commanding the box in any way at all. And then actually towards the end, he had a really good save, albeit from, I think actually it deflected off Marcelo, but he did make a good save. And so, you know, I would say in terms of the first half, probably a 5 out of 10, somewhere in there. He really didn't have much to do after the first 20 minutes. For Carvajal, like I said, he was being taken to school by Gervinho in the first 20 minutes. After that, he started to calm down, started to move the ball a bit better, he started to get forward, and he definitely grew in confidence. He had a decent shot at goal for sure, a decent look at goal with the outside of his foot, and he did look nervous. To me, he looked nervous early on, but he definitely calmed down. So I gave him a 6 out of 10 for the first half. Ramos was interesting. For me, actually, I should start by saying not too long ago, maybe a couple days ago, I read that him and Ronaldo were still quite upset with the sacking of Ancelotti and the transfer of Iker Casillas. So to me, he didn't really look like he was too thrilled to be out there on the pitch, but he calmed down the early fray for sure. As Roma dominated, Ramos over time, he started to get more of an influence in the game. He started to get a sturdy hand on the wheel almost, and he definitely calmed down the ball. He moved it around the back a bit better, and he had a decent chance from a corner too, which he put over the bar. So I gave him a 6.5 out of 10. I thought he played fairly well. Rafael Varane, I don't know why I said his first name so strange. I mean, he looks in good shape. He was unbelievably fast. I mean, just like a bullet. He was good 1v1. He had a couple good tackles against Gervinho. His passing was slightly inconsistent to start. He looked anxious too, probably just from the lack of playing time in the last month, but I gave him a 6.5 out of 10 too. I thought he did quite well. Now Marcelo, he was probably he was good, maybe slightly worse than Ramos and Varane, but like I said, he cleared one off the line. He made a decent combination with Ronaldo, so that was good, and he did get forward quite well. It's just he wasn't really his final ball wasn't good enough, and he didn't get enough opportunities to cross it. Certainly in the second half of last year, I mean, his final ball was brilliant, switching the ball from side to side, holding onto the ball, dribbling, and so it would just take time for him to get him back. So I gave him a 6 out of 10. We'll move into Modric. He was definitely shaky early. It's been a month since he's played, and I think he only played half hour against Getafe, if I'm remembering correct. But he definitely grew in confidence. His touch came back. His dribbling was good, good passing, and he looked actually quite sharp. I thought so. He also got a 6.5 out of 10. Ilar Mendy was a bit different. He was lunging into tackles, a couple really bad ones. I mean, he didn't really do much. He was okay in possession, so I gave him a 5.5. Odegaard is a really interesting one. Perhaps not that his play was super interesting, but just sort of what he's doing is interesting. If you remember when he made his debut, believe again against Getafe, he was really cautious. He played it safe and he just tried to fit in the team. And it was much the same today. I know when he first came to Real Madrid, he had some issues with the Castilla team in terms of his attitude and his willingness to defend. But he defended well. He tracked runners. He made the safe pass. Didn't really give away the ball. And he seems like he wants to fit in the team without ruffling any feathers. So I gave him a 6 out of 10. Now Bale's the player of the first half for me. He was really sharp. He was fast. At the end of last year, it looked like he hardly ever beat players with skill or by pace. He had a couple step overs today. He had a couple great turns. He looks good. He looks like he wants to go. And to me, it looks like he's anxious to improve from what was essentially a really poor season for him last season. He played right behind the striker in a sort of a free role, and he only really shifted out to the left. For me, he didn't really go on the right, and I know he told Perez that he didn't want to do that. He defended well from the front. In fact, something interesting in the first half that I noticed was that the front three of Ronaldo, Bale, and Hesse, they pressurized the defense. Ronaldo not so much, but even he was running defensively more than he did last year. In fact, he tracked back quite a bit too, and Bale too. Bale was tracking back quite far. So the willingness to defend is something that Benitez is obviously known for. He wants teams to be defensive, defend from the front, defend all the way through, and certainly it looks like for now, at least on a trial basis perhaps, that Ronaldo and Bale are buying into that. So Bale was good. I gave him a 7.5 out of 10. I thought he was the brightest spark in the first half. Ronaldo was sort of the opposite. He was sort of uninvolved to me. He looked disinterested. I don't think he's happy currently with the situation in Real Madrid. I think he's going to take some time to get over that. We know he's sort of a sensitive guy in terms of his personality. So the club matters. I think he's invested in for whatever reason. He had a couple really poor first touches, inconsistent passing. He had a couple decent crosses. He defended from the front, like I said. He had a couple tricks that got the crowd excited. He set up Bale with a decent pass. But, aside from that, he was more or less uninvolved. So I gave him a 6. And then Hesse, he looks really fast. He looks like, I think in terms of physically, he's completely recovered from his ALC tear, I believe it was, last season, or I guess 2 seasons ago now. He got behind the defense well. His crossing was just a little bit poor. Final ball not great, but he looked very lively to me, and so he got a 6.5. So like I said, they were shaky from the start, poor in possession, and it did improve throughout the game. The finishing wasn't good, but as I said, they did start to create chances to them. But overall, the first half belonged to Roma. They had probably 55% of the possession, and they definitely created the better chances. Finished 0-0 in the first half, by the way. On to the second half, and it gets a bit interesting in the second half because Benitez makes 9 substitutions. So I'll just give you the starting 11 for the second half again. Keylor Navas was still in net. Arbeloa came in at left back. Pepe and Nacho were the center backs. Danilo came in the 75th minute for Carvajal. Midfield was Lucas Silva and Cruz, and then left wing Cheryshev. Bale's role was filled by Isco. The right wing was Lucas Vasquez, and then up front was Benzema. So similar formation. Now, because Navas really didn't have anything to do in the second half. Real Madrid took control of the game and dominated possession. I don't think he even really touched the ball. So he ended up with a clean sheet. He did finish 0-0 in the second half. So I gave him a 6 out of 10 for the full game. Arbeloa next. There's not really much you can say. You know what you're getting from Arbeloa. He's solid-ish. He's kind of slow, a little bit clumsy. He's okay passing-wise. He doesn't really have much impact on the game. Give him a 5.5. Pepe, again, like I said, Real Madrid were dominating the ball. He didn't have much to do. When he was asked to defend, he did. Simple as that, 6 out of 10. And the same goes for Nacho, 6 out of 10. He won the ball, he cleared the ball, he got on with his job, Right back, Danilo coming in the 75th minute for Carvajal. I think, I could be wrong, I think it was 75th. He looks to already be in good form. He looked quick, he got forward very well. He looks, obviously, to be a bit more offensive, which he was at Porto than Carvajal is. He's a good passing. He had a nice hit as well, just a couple inches wide. And to me, it was a solid debut and one that he can definitely build on throughout the rest of preseason. For Lucas Silva, then, he was very shaky start, poor passing. Having Cruz beside him definitely helped him settle down, and he did improve as the game went on. I gave him a 6 out of 10. He was okay. Cruz, you can't really say much about him. He doesn't give away the ball, and I don't think he misplays one pass. He looks like he'll be just as good as last year, and I gave him a 7 out of 10. He definitely caught on the ball, and him and Isco were the reason that they managed to keep possession in the second half. On the left wing was Denis Cheryshev. He was on loan at Villarreal. For those of you that know, he played very well. He had a couple big game performances, one against Barcelona in the second half of the year. He's a traditional winger, a little bit different than what Real Madrid have. He's always looking to pass, to cross first rather than shoot or take on the man. He showed good pace, created well. A couple of his passes were a bit wayward, but he looks like he's got a decent final ball in him. And then, like I said, filling Bale's role, was Isco. He was, he was really, really fun to watch. Great touches. He hardly gave the ball away. Some of his, he just dances. He's got magic sewn right into his boots for sure. He was the player of the second half, no doubt. I gave him a 7.5 out of 10. He was maybe slightly careless towards the end of the second half when Real Madrid were really pushing for the goal, but other than that, he was excellent. On the right wing was Vasquez, who was another loanee last year. He was on loan at Espanyol. I think he only had 2 goals and 2 assists, but personally for me, he grew a lot as a player. He's 24 now, so you're not really talking so much about potential at this point, but more can the player improve and gain experience. He's kind of quiet, didn't really use the right side much in the second half, and when they did, it was Danilo with the ball, but he did well to create a few little things. He had right at the end before injury time, he had a good chance on a 1v1, a little bit of link-up play on the left, swung over to Benzema, and then Benzema played him through, and he had a nice cut, inside cut to lose a defender, and then 1v1 against DeSantis, he hit it. It wasn't a great hit, good save from DeSantis, but he really should have put it away. And then Benzema up front, he's the last one to talk about. He looked sort of out of shape to me. I know he's been partying a lot with Rihanna and whoever else. He looked, so like I said, he looked sort of unfit, though he had a couple touches of class for sure, and he did create a little bit there, linking up with Isco, but he was mainly left isolated throughout the second half. So, like I said, Real Madrid dominated the second half, 65-35 possession. They created the better chances. Overall, my thoughts of the game certainly have to be about Bale. He looks revitalized. Isco looks like he's willing to take a big role. Now, of course, is not with the team. He's still on leave following the Copa America, so he's still got to fit into the team. I wouldn't say that Isco's taken his spot or anything, certainly not after one preseason game, but Isco looked good. If he keeps it up, he's going to make a real case for himself. Overall, I give Real Madrid a 6 out of 10. Now, it's interesting rules in the International Champions Cup. If it's a draw after 90 minutes, it goes straight to penalties. So it did go to penalties. Unfortunately, Roma did win it 7-6, and quite high scoring. It was actually Lucas Vasquez who missed the 7th. A good save from DeSantis. I'll run you through who scored the penalties. So Danilo got the first one. Cruz, Lucas Silva, Isco, Benz. Nacho actually hit 1 bar down. It was a really nice penalty, and then Vasquez missed for the 7th. So Real Madrid did lose, but there's a lot of positives. And Benitez said after the game in his press conference that he thought they were well organized and that they created chances. And I have to agree with him. I'm not so much with the organization, certainly not at the beginning, but they come together well. And of course, it is the first game of preseason. We're not trying to get ahead of each other, but it's just without seeing Real Madrid for a month, it's hard for me not to want to make a lot of assumptions and really get invested in the game. So that's about it for the video. Now, this is a brand new channel. This is the first video I've ever uploaded. I'm going to definitely keep doing this sort of thing for the Real Madrid games preseason. I think within the next week or two, I might do a La Liga and Premier League preview. I might do a couple videos just discussing some of the big transfers and where they'll fit in. Schweinsteiger to United, Immobile to Sevilla. I know that's not a huge one, but Baca to Milan, that's an interesting one. Talk a bit about Kike Casilla, who just signed yesterday for $4 million for Real Madrid. So there's definitely some things to talk about. Check at Arsenal. So, Vidal, if he ends up going to Bayern, I know that they were reporting that yesterday. So, I'm not asking you to subscribe after one video, but just keep an eye out. I do find that, or I think that I have some interesting ideas about football or soccer, whatever you want to call it. So I'll keep trying to upload some videos here. If there's even a decent response, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, just so you all know, Real Madrid do play next Friday against Man City. It's going to be 6 a.m. Eastern time again, so it'll be early morning, maybe even slightly later for those of you across different parts of the world, if you do choose to watch. So that's it for me, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.